Recording is on.
Okay, so lesson number 8 for Stackademic. In case you're wondering, students, what we are going to learn today, I kind of added a lesson along the way before we go on with the last two of the JavaScript modules, and those are going to be about asynchronous JavaScript and OOP in JavaScript. Today, what I wanted to do is just to solve some problems online to see how I perform some problem solving and, give you some tips, which I think can be good. I've noticed that many of you have asked me to give you the code for the previous lessons. I will do that in the weekend. I will give you the code for the DOM lesson we did, and it's not clear what kind of request is for the other example I showed you, but if you want, I can write some of them and put them on GitHub if that is good for you. Or if you're just interested in the two projects we did regarding the DOM, let me know that and I will provide that for you. So my idea was to keep things very easy today. So before we start on with the lessons, I would like to ask you, chat, would you like me to solve problems from a coding game, or you can even send me the link of a JavaScript problem that you haven't been able to solve, and I will solve that together with you. You choose if you prefer a coding game with a random thing, or you want to propose me some problems. I also have some other ideas for things I want to, for like common problems I want to show to you, Telly.
What ideas have you got out of interest?
What?
What ideas have you got out of interest?
I thought just looking for some problems online and showing them to the students. So, chat, can you hear me properly? Because I haven't seen any answer. I'm happy whatever you decide. So, okay, thanks, Christy. Let's go for coding game. Okay, let's do it. I'm gonna share with you my screen. Sunil, please, can you mute yourself? Can everybody mute yourself? Because I can hear. Oh, it's Abby. I'm gonna mute. Sorry. Let's go. Okay, so as always, chat, can you see my screen? Drop a yes if you can. Perfectly. Okay, so I just hope that, yes, exactly. Okay, let's go on coding game and find some code problems, and I will show you how I solve them. I think we can do a clash of code alone. Clash of code. Let's do okay, start a private clash. Can I start a clash by myself? No, I can't. So I will need somebody to join for me to start a clash on coding game by myself. So does anybody want to join, or otherwise I can just find some problems online? You're not forced to participate. You can also just join so I can access the problem set. Has anyone else joined yet? No, unfortunately. Well, let's just do like this. I think I will find problems online, which I think is going to be easier. Okay, so let's just go like this. I'm gonna write JavaScript problems. Go with some JavaScript function problems. Let's see. I have an idea for JavaScript. Have you ever seen the program of a palindrome? We're going to do a palindrome. Okay, so write a JavaScript function that checks whether a string is a palindrome or not. So let's just go with this problem, and we can, just solve some of them live. I just wanted to show you how I approach a problem. So lesson, I'm gonna open that in VS Code. Oh, what is this? Let me just open my VS Code, and as always, I'm going to have my my problem, my editor, sorry. And yes, I noticed that somebody asked for the coding game link in the chat. I will be able, I will send that to you later in case you want to see some problems from coding game. So let's do first this problem, which is one of the ones that I assigned to you when I gave you some homework like a couple weeks ago on the first lessons. And let's just copy the text. And so write a JavaScript function that checks whether a pass string is a palindrome or not. So in case this is like such a common problem for JavaScript, and it's, I think, something also you can find in interviews, like very basic, but it's just one of the first type of problem solving that you have to do when mastering JavaScript. What is a palindrome? A palindrome is a word, phrase, or sequence that reads the same backward as forward. So for example, the word Madden, and you can see that Madden, if you read it from left to right, it's Madden, but if you read it right to left, it's still Madden. Or nurses. And so this has to be on a word, phrase, or sequence. Let's just start with words, okay? Let's just make this a little bit easier also for you to understand. So, okay, so the first way in which I approach problem solving is to understand properly the problem that I will have to solve. So this is very important. I hate this thing that is popping out here. And okay, so when you will be working as a software developer, really, the thing that you are doing now won't be that different from things that you will be doing every day, because every day you will have your own task, and the only difference is that that task is part of a bigger project. But a task really is a problem. You got to understand the problem. You got to develop a solution, test it, and then you are ready to go. So the first step when trying to solve a problem is always to understand the problem well. So let's do this in our case, And what is the problem? Well, we gotta write a function that checks whether a passed word is a palindrome. Okay, so we already defined what a palindrome is a word that reads both, from left to right and right to left equally. So again, Madam, Anna are palindromes. Okay, so we have clear what we have to do, and the problem is asking us to write a function. We should be able to do that, right? So let's start to, after you understand the problem well, and this is what we did now, it's very easy. You can quite start to prototype a possible solution, So you write down some code and you start to see how this can kind of play out. Why is prototyping phase important? Well, you see, it's the process from going to, theory of a problem to the code is never linear. It's never like this, because you have to put in other steps. And with that, I mean prototyping. So, that's useful to understand if the solution is feasible, how you could implement it. And also prototyping is useful because it helps you to understand and to reveal things that you may have not thought about regarding the problem that you're trying to solve. Let me give you an example. So let's start with a simple prototype of this program, right? So we have a function. So this function has to tell us if a string is a palindrome or not. So, I guess that a good return value for it could be a Boolean, so like true or false. So a good name for this could be something like is a is a palindrome. And since we get in a string, we can already start to kind of define how this function will look like. And we can say word. So we will take in a word, and what we have to do here is check if a string is a palindrome. Okay, so you can see now that I'm actually starting to think that thanks to this prototyping phase where I said, okay, I will just do something like is a palindrome madam, and this will have to return true. Is a palindrome Piero, and this will have to return false. I'm thinking, what happens if I don't pass anything, right? What happens if I just call this function like this? Why am I thinking about this? Well, because I built this kind of little prototype, and as I was telling you, it helped me to understand if the solution is feasible, which is something you do for bigger projects. So, if you can realize that technically, of course, we can write a function in JavaScript, but it helps you to think about possible edge cases, which you always have to focus on. And now we have a deeper understanding of the problem, because we can say, hey, I have to check if the word param exists. So, I have a deeper understanding of the problem now. And, prototyping also helps you to do something, which is an approach extremely common in problem solving when coding, which is divide and conquer. So basically that is just about dividing a problem into a small subset of problems. Let me give you an example of divide and conquer here. Check if a string is a palindrome. This is quite of an overview of the problem. But really, to understand if a string is a palindrome, it's clear that what we have to do is reverse the string, reverse our initial string, store the reversed string somewhere in a variable, compare the reversed string to the initial one. If they are equal, then return true. So we have a palindrome. We have a palindrome, right? Otherwise, return false. Sorry if I misspelled this here. This may sound stupid to you, but this is kind of the approach that you have to take when you really are a beginner. To go through theory and understanding proper a problem, doing some prototyping, dividing and conquer, and so now you have clear every step that you need, because now you can basically go through each single problem, which is small, and understand how to solve it. And now we can go on with the code phase. So this is kind of a thing that you will notice that as you go on with time, you will still have to do this kind of, splitting, dividing and conquer. But as long as you master more and more the language, you will say, okay, I know how to reverse a string. I know how to check if two of them are equal. So it will be a lot faster. So this is how you build seniority, if you practice. Chat, was that clear for you? Yes, madam, not madam, sorry. Okay, so actually I'm thinking about also another use case that I want to highlight with you, and that is, what if I have madam like this? Is this a palindrome? Because M is uppercase, the initial M, while the first one is not. So basically we're comparing madam against madam, This is why prototyping, again, it's so important, because you see that now that I'm watching code again and again, I'm thinking about more possible use cases. Well, let's say for now that I know how to solve this, because we can lowercase the initial string. So we can say that we can consider Madden with an initial lowercase m and a final uppercase M still a palindrome, okay? So let's start to write some code actually. Let me fix this. Okay, so let me write also another use case here so you have clear how we have to do this. So this will return true. Our logic, this has to return true. This is false, and this is false because there is no word. Okay, so how do we check if a parameter exists? Well, that's very easy. This is very this is strictly connected to what we said yesterday about the fact that if you don't pass a parameter in, that gets as undefined inside of the function. So if you don't pass word here, word, when you use word inside of the body of the function, that's undefined. So I can say that if not word, return false. Two things to note about this thing. Okay, so I don't know how comfortable you are with, because this is something that we skimmed over like very quickly about logic conditions, right? Do you remember that we have to put an expression here which coerces to true or false inside of an if statement? So this operator that I'm showing you here is called the not operator. And what this does is basically it reverts the result of a condition. So, for example, if you have const is Piero 22, and you put in true, and if you print that, you got true, right? If I prefix my variable with this value, I got false. Why? Simply because this operator reverts the value. So like switches from true to false and from false to true. So if you go true, returns false. False returns true. Literally, it negates any condition, and negate means that it converts to the opposite. So from true it becomes false, from false it becomes true. Why am I using this here? Because if word is undefined, well, and I put that in the if statement, the fact is that undefined is false, so this block is never going to run. But if I put it with the not operator, undefined is false, but it will be converted, the result of the condition will be converted to true. So I will be running this code. This is one of the most common JavaScript hacks that coders use to check if something is undefined, so not variable. Was that clear to you, chat? Yeah, then we can also talk about a use case with spaces. I love hacks at Rachel. Okay, so we got the first thing done. Of course, in like a professional environment, I wouldn't write these comments, but this is just for you to understand better. So we said that Madden with lowercase and Madden with final uppercase are still a palindrome, right? So what we have to do here is say const to lowercase, let's say, let's call it cleaned word. Just to say we clean the input, right? And we can say word dot, sorry for the background noise, to uppercase. Let me check if this is the correct spelling for the to uppercase method, because I don't remember. I'm going to check that in the doc. No, it's wrong. It's C, it's uppercase. So to uppercase, right? So after this, we have lowercase our initial string, right? Great. So now we have to revert this string. We have to get something like, if this is Piero, it will become rape, right? And okay, so let me do something like const reverted. And the thing is why am I storing the result of my reversion in another variable? Well, simply because I want to keep track of the initial variable, of the initial value, and the reverted one, right? Because if I reverted the value instead of clean word, then I will lose the initial value. So here I'm holding, let's go with the Madam example. Piero. I'm holding Piero, lowercase, right? Now I need to revert this string. How do you revert it? Well, there is a method in JavaScript, if I remember properly, JavaScript reverse a string. How you reverse that in place? That's it. This function. Okay, so, okay, why am I showing that? I'm Googling that. It's just a pleasure for me to Google things in front of you right now because, you know, this is how I would do it in a professional environment too. If I don't remember how to revert a variable, a string, and I remember that there's a way to do that, you know, why should I Google for that? It doesn't make me look stupid. It's just what developers do every day. They check the docs, they check if somebody wrote an answer on Stack Overflow, which can help them. So, you know, I have step-by-step list of things that I have to do. I'm doing them step by step, and now I know that I got to reverse my initial string. So this kind of atomic approach where I isolate each step now helps me to focus on one only thing and find the best possible solution. So apparently, how do you reverse a string in JavaScript? You reverse it like this. Okay, so let's just write this example in isolation so you can see, because I know what it's happening here, but let's just put that in the console. Const name, first name equal Piero. And then let's say const reverted equal. I'm gonna say first name. Check. Okay. Yes, this works. What is happening here? Can you remember that I told you that on objects, arrays, and strings, you can call some methods. For example, on an array, you can say array.map, as we did yesterday, or array.push. So split, it's a method that you have for strings. So JavaScript, we can search for that, split. And the split methods splits an array, splits a string, sorry, into an array of substrings. You pass to the split method the value that is the criteria for your splitting. In my case, I'm telling you split for each white space. And so the result is that I get, you know, an array containing my my single words splitted. And this syntax, it's okay if you don't understand it properly at first, because let me tell you what is happening here. You see all these dots. So to be precise, first name dot split, as mentioned, will return a, as mentioned, an array. Okay, so let's do this again. Const equal Piero, and I show const reverted test equal test dot split. Okay, so you see this method return inside of reverted test an array of each character, right? So since it returns an array, now we want to reverse those characters, that array. And you do that using the reverse method. The thing is that if we want to revert the method now, we can do something like const reverted chars equal reverted test, so my array dot reverse, and I can print that reverted chars, and you see we got that reverted. So where am I trying to go here? I'm trying to go to a concept which is called method chaining. So basically, since this method returns an array, and the reverse method is called on an array, you can chain the two methods one with another, because you call reverse on an array, as you've seen, but since this method returns an array, you don't have to store this in a variable and then call reverse on that variable like we did here. You can immediately join that here. And again, since join takes in a array as a, like, works on an array, you can do that again. So I want to make sure that this is clear to you. So let's do like this. Split chars, and we say word.split. Okay. So now here we have an array with P, with all the letters, let's say. So P, E, E, R, O. So then we can say const reverted chars equal split chars, so my array dot reverse. And now we got O R E P, right? So reverse method works on an array, split method works on an array, and finally we can say joined chars, which basically takes in an array and joins all those values in a single string, right? So like kind of merges them together. And we can say reverted chars dot join. I guess it was. So instead of doing this, you can do, as we mentioned, const reverted equal word dot split. This returns an array, right? So you want to, on that array, you want to perform a reverse, so you can do reverse. And this returns an array again, and on that array, you want to perform a join, so you can do join. So we are basically, this is totally the equivalent as writing this. Are the same things, but this is more concise, it's shorter, and we're taking advantage of the return values of these functions. So this was very hard for me to explain. Hope you understand it. This is kind of another hack. It's called method chaining. Drop a yes chat if that was clear to you. Perfect. So here now, I have array, and you can see why I've stored this value inside of another one, because if I I've stored the reverted value directly inside of clean word, I would have lost my, clean data. And now I can say that if, so we reverse this. Let me remove this. We have to compare the reverse string to the initial one. So let's say that if clean word equal reverted, then we can return true. Return true. Otherwise, we can return false. Let's go with a quick test of this. Let me open my terminal, new terminal. Live server. Okay, so close this. It's running. Let's start with our first simple input. I'm gonna console.log the result of is a palindrome on Madam. The palindrome Madam. Oh, undefined. Why is that? Okay, so this is curious. So yeah, let's do some debugging. Okay, so let me remove the comment. So it's I'll go with some console logs here. I prefer to do some console log at the beginning to debug what's happening here. So first I want to see if the param is being passed in. So, okay, so this condition should be good. I want to check now if maybe the condition is wrong. Console.log hit, just to see if we reach this side of the code. Yes. Let me print my two words to see what they are. Console.log cleaned word, console.log reverted. Let me see. Oh, I got this wrong. This is too lowercase, sorry. Now you see I have them both here and now I get true. So the error was that I got the method wrong here, and this is one of those things that I call logic errors. So you see there is a kind of differentiation between errors that you do in JavaScript and in every programming language. So a syntax error is the easiest one to detect because simply the program doesn't run because you got something wrong. So if I spell here to lower k, you see, lower k is not a function. So immediately I know that I got something wrong. But a logic error is the most difficult one to get, and it's the second type of error. And it's simply an error made by human logic. So you can create the error and you gotta solve it. So you're kind of an investigator of a crime you committed by yourself, right? And here I misspelled, I wrote two uppercase instead of two lowercase. So clean word and reverted can never be, equal. And I used some console logs to see how my program execution was going. So this is a palindrome. Let's test if this returns correctly. So I'm gonna just pop this on log. Let me go here. I don't know if my program. Okay, so again, we got an error. This program is full of errors. Again, let me see if my cleaned word and reverted are okay. So this is again like an important part of our code process, which is testing. Let me see. Hero reverted. So they are, oh yeah, I didn't write return, so it couldn't return, of course. And now let me remove this. And I can see that it's probably working. So this is a palindrome, this is not. I change this. This is not a palindrome because it doesn't spell same backward as reading from left to right. So great. Let's stress our solution. So let's test with a different casing. Let's see how it goes. False. Oh, why false? I want this to be a palindrome. This should be returned true. Let's analyze this solution. Oh, I know immediately why I got this wrong. Let me tell you why it's not working. Because here I use clean word and I convert Madden, right? Becomes Madden. But here I'm running the split reverse join on word, which is still uppercase, still has the uppercase M. So basically I get Madden, right? So I'm reverting the input which is not cleaned. So simply I have to say cleaned word. And this is true. So again, this is a palindrome. So this is like, you can see that I'm an experienced developer, but I still make errors because you don't think about something or you misspell a word. It's just so common. And I did that in 20 lines of code. It's just so common. This is just a motivation for you to test your code more and more and, to have a standardized process for problem solving that you have. Okay, so of course, I will write this faster in real life, but right now I'm explaining. Let's do one more test. in my program, which is console.log is a palindrome and passing in nothing. So this should return false. And indeed, it returns false. So for now, this our first version of the palindrome is working properly. I was thinking about, there was another kind of use case, an edge case I was thinking about, but I forgot about it. Chat, was that clear to you? Yes, Sunil, I'm lowercasing the words because for the scope of the problem, I said, okay, let's make that a word which reads like front word is the same as one which reads backward, which is equal, but as different casing. So it's just the scope of the problem. Okay, so I was thinking about another use case really, but I had it here on the tip of my tongue, but I forgot.
What about the nurses run thing that IB mentioned, where there was the space?
Yes, so we can improve. So this can be considered like a initial version of our algorithm, right, to solve this problem. So another use case which was suggested was, I guess, nurses run. Nurses, yes, which is a palindrome because spelled backward is nurses run. So, but this is more than one word, right? So if we want to write this function, so if we want to improve our program, we can do it. And let's try to see how to do that. Okay, let me think. I never done a palindrome with more than one word, so this is new also for me. Let me comment this out. And let's repeat our process. So function is a palindrome word. And okay, so let's try to make that example run. So again, this use case should work again. But now we should also have something like is a palindrome nurses run to return true. So what is the difference with the problem above? Well, I think this can also be considered kind of the same. Let me think about it because, okay, let me just copy part of the code that I wrote earlier because I know that they're still good for my problem. Oops. I'm fixing the indentation of the code. So, okay, I know that I want to lowercase, again, my string. So let's copy this part here. And now I want to see, let me see if this reverted algorithm, which we wrote earlier, works again if we have more than one word. Let's try to do some testing here. Let's try to do some prototyping of this new solution. So let me console.log. I'm going to comment this out because I don't need them. Console.log clean word. Okay, so and then console.log reverted. And where is my program? So yeah, basically it's still reverting it perfectly. You can see. So in my case, this will still run, I guess. Let me confirm that by copying this example. So to confirm that we don't have to add any modification in this case. And it's returning false. Okay, let me put, first of all, let me make that clearer for you to read.
I've got an idea, Piero, if you want it, but I'm happy to just wait if you want.
Yeah, of course. I'm just showing you my process right now.
Well, what you could maybe do is use the replace function to replace any spaces with nothing. If you do that on the parameter word and then do it on the modified word that you've got as well, then it basically, if you strip away any spaces, then
Yes.
it should do it. So I think you could do you could chain replace the replace function on there, which takes 2 parameters. The first would be, I guess, an empty space.
Let me check that. Yeah, I was just wondering that. Yes, because this is problematic because it has spaces in it, right?
Yeah, so that would be it. So if you strip away any spaces from the input and the output, then when you do the comparison, it will.
Yes, they will be the same word because they won't have. So basically, nurses run, and then we will have the like reverted, but without the spaces. So yeah, that was a good hint, Sunil. Thank you. So let me just check for the replace method in JavaScript. Returns a string where Microsoft is replaced with school. Okay, so I want to check how to replace white spaces. Oh, I think we can do something also different. We can use trim. Let me check. I'll show you. Okay, so again, I want to basically remove. The problem here to make this work is remove all white spaces in this string, right? Because I have nurses run, and then I have run nurses. And of course, these two are different, so that's why our function is not working right now. But if I trim all the spaces away, fuck it, no, it's still different.
I think trim will just remove the white space from the end and the beginning. So you'll probably need to use the replace function. And what you can do.
White space.
So the answer was in that bit that you saw. There you go. Yeah, and you could use a regex to do it as well. So that would probably be the better solution.
Let me just check.
Because if you just use replace with a string, it will only replace the first instance. But I guess you could theoretically have a palindrome that has maybe more than 2 words even. So I only kind of the reason why this replace function is at the forefront of my mind is only because I've been using it like 2 days ago for stuff. So that's the only reason it's like fresh in my mind. Otherwise, I'd just be Googling as well.
No, but that's very good. So thank you. So okay, so basically the problem, just to recap, was that I got the first input, which is nurses run, right? And if I revert it, but I don't remove the white space. So let's remove this part. Let me show you. This will return false, because the toString will still be different because there is this white space in the middle, you know? So you have nurses run and then nurses run. So that's kind of, I don't know how to vocally explain the white space between them. So you can see that our clean word is this. So we lowercase everything. So this is our input. We revert it, but this white space is basically forbidding us to understand if this is really a palindrome or not with 2 words. So what we can use here is a method called replace, which was suggested by Sunil. And replace takes in a regex. I will send you a link to explain what that is, but let's just, because this will distract us too much from our lesson right now, but just realize that this method works on a string. So this is perfect. We can chain it, and it replaces every occurrence that is specified in this parameter. So with this regex, I'm telling replace every white space with like nothing, so empty string. So basically remove every white space. So now after this, inside of clear word, we have nurses run, and this will be basically the reversed. So again, nurses run. And so this will work as a palindrome checker. Let's check that again. And that is true. Let's see if this solution breaks other ones. Let's go with Madden. It's a palindrome. Let's go with Piero. It is not. It's not. Great. Madden. It's true. Perfectly. And this, again, returns false. So the fourth call returns false because we didn't pass in the parameter. So perfect. Chad, was that clear to you? Great. So really a lot. Go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog. Yes, a con. Okay, so we have one more question from Rachel. This sentence is also palindrome. Go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog. First of all, that's a very fun statistic. Let me try to copy paste that in. A hog, is that kind of an animal, right?
Yeah, it's like a it's like a pig.
I was attacked by a hog then one day. No, yeah, really.
It's I've almost been attacked by a hog here in Liguria as well while hiking.
In Barcelona, I just saw a hog, and the hog, there were a bunch of them. Luckily, there were no like kids of the hog. I remember my ex-girlfriend screaming, "Ammo! There's a hog!" Okay, so I was testing this input that Rachel gave us. So with our current algorithm, you can see that basically the string is equal, but it's giving problem because of this apostrophe, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you can just do more replaces to target those apostrophes, and I guess theoretically you could, like a long-term solution would be to create a regex that looks for any type of symbol, so full stops, semicolons, apostrophes,
Yes.
etc., and just replace them with nothing.
Yeah, but I don't want to go into regex now because that would be, I guess, too much.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, at least I guess with this one, what's in there? There's there's a comma and an apostrophe. So, well, yeah, you're right. I guess you don't necessarily need to write it now. But.
Yes, because let's just keep it like this for now without this kind of input, because regex are like another whole world, right? So it's just so big that I don't want to go into it right now. Learn regex, but I'm going to send you a link, which is great to understand what a regex is. And basically, a regex is a pattern that you write to select something inside of a string. I Google it to find an example. I don't know if you referred to a hog, Rachel, or or the palindrome, but yeah. So I could give you this as a homework to improve our palindrome function to also work with this statistic. So that could be good. So thank you. You gave me an idea for a possible solution, Rachel. Thank you for possible homework. So I will give you that to you. I think that's a good idea. And Chad, do you want to see one more quick problem we can do on how you call that, coding game? because this really took time from us. I'm happy because we saw the whole coding, let's say, process, and then we can have some post-lesson chat with Sunil. Why am I drinking from the bottle if I got a glass? Sorry.
That was a really, to be fair though, I thought that this was really interesting because this is similar, like what you have gone through is similar to what somebody might expect in an interview as well, because you've explained the entire process and you've gone from a simple solution and you've made it more and more complex as you've gone on. So it's a really good exercise for the students to get used to.
That's something that you said something very good of this, going back and forth on a solution. And that's something very true, because when you write code, you never write something from beginning to the end and it's immediately ready. You go back and forth because you test it, because you refactor it and you improve it. So for example, in this solution, I could go back and forth again and say, hey, I can fix this statement with return clean word equal reverted, and you recognize this. This is a ternary operator. So you see there is this back and forth between testing, how like we did for refactoring, and basically this is coding. It's never going from top to bottom of a solution immediately. It almost never happens unless you have something which is super easy. So to do that on Coding Game, I need somebody to join the clash so I can at least get the program, to run. So I'm going to send you a link. You don't have to participate, even just if you want to, join, so I can start the clash by myself. Unfortunately, I can't do that alone. You see, one more player is required to launch the clash. Arturan, I know you have an account. Do you want to do that?
I'm about to join now as well, by the way, just to get the numbers up.
Ooh, you changed your character. So let's do it. Okay, so I've never seen this kind of problem. So given a string, you must output the average ASCII value of that string.
Is this the same one that we had? Remember, we had this one last time as well.
No, it's not. We had to print the sum.
Oh, right. Okay. Never mind.
So when you will find yourself in a coding interview environment or when solving a problem, you will always have this kind of environment, right? So you will have a problem statement. In our case was the palindrome, and you will have, for example, input example and the expected output, right? So this is exactly what we did earlier, right? So we have a understand the problem phase, and then we have some prototype. Then we have some co-writing to do. And then we have some testing. So for the testing phase, it's done automatically by Coding Game because it runs some, play test case. So it basically calls our function again and again with different inputs. And if we did everything properly, all of these will become green, I heard somebody wanted to talk. No? Okay, but somebody got the microphone on, so please turn it off. So, okay, we don't need a function here. Let's understand our problem better. We must output the average ASCII value of that string. Let's do some divide and conquer again. So what we have to do is, we got the string, it's memorized here. So what we gotta say is, I'm going to remove the comments here because they are just boring, right? We got the string here. This is done automatically by Coding Game, right? So just to give you the input, so you don't have to worry about it when writing the problem. So what we have to do is basically, I have an idea for this solution. Who's got the microphone on, guys? So basically, we have to get the ASCII value for every. I got 15 minutes to finish this. Well, get the ASCII value for every character. Sum these characters. Divide these characters by their length. Why am I saying this? Because, well, the average is the sum of all the elements divided by their length, their number. So this is plain math, let's say. So, if you got 1, 2, and 3, the average is going to be their sum. So in our case, 6 divided by 3. Why 3? Because we got 3 elements. So, okay, how do I get the ASCII value for every character? If I remember properly, there was a method, charat. So I use this method, and I want to get the ASCII value for. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to search. But I remember there was this function called like charcode at, exactly. So in case you're wondering what the ASCII value is just a number paired with each letter in the alphabet to memorize in a computer those letters. So for example, I guess A is equal to, let's see. So for example, A is equal to 97. B is equal to 98, right? Uppercase A will be equal to something else, 65. Okay, so we got the first thing done, how to get the ASCII value for every character. And since we have to, the thing is, the string could be ABC, could be ABCD, or something else. So we don't know that how long the string will be. So the fact that we have to get for every character its ASCII correspondent makes me think that we have to use an array, right? How do we do that? We could say for, let's use a for of, because we did that yesterday. For char of s, so for every character inside of our string, what I want to do is let sum, because I want to sum my characters. Okay, so basically I want to do is, for every character, I want to get char dot, what was the name of the function? I forgot about it. Charcode at, yes, exactly. Charcode at, so here I'm getting its equivalent. So for example, for A, it's going to be, we said something like 96. And what I want to do is also sum these characters and divide these characters by their length. So a good way to write this program will be to basically add to sum the equivalent. Basically, so for every iteration, so for A, we are getting 96 on the first iteration, and then on the second one, we're getting, for example, 97, and we're automatically adding that to sum. So for every iteration, we're adding the current character ASCII equivalent to our sum variable. And then what we could do, the average is const average equal sum divided by s, which is our string, dot length. And let's try to print the result around my test case. Okay, so the first test case works, but the second didn't. Why is that? I want to see. So, okay, so I wish if he could tell me the input that he got inside. So let me just console.log s. This is weird. I wish I could just understand what kind of input I'm receiving in. Because apparently there is this weird double, so this floating point number here. Oh, I know why. Probably when we do this division, if we get like a particular number, yeah, of course, this division can sometimes lead to a floating point number, right? So for example, if sum is 5 and the length is 3, if you do 5 dot divided by 3, you got 1.666, and that's not what we want. We want to remove the floating part, I guess. And to do that, let's say how to remove floating point in JavaScript. The decimal part, we can say, okay, we can use math. We can say math.floor, and this will bring the number down. Yeah. So with math.floor, if you got a number like 1.666, it will truncate the decimal part to basically go to the lowest end of the number. So if you got 1.6 with math.floor, it becomes 1. And if you got, for example, 2.7, it becomes 2. So in our case, this is a good way to truncate the result. We could also use trunc. Yes, it's the same. Yes. So just remove the decimal part at all, and we can submit our solution. So again, what we did here was understanding the problem. We had that here. We did some prototyping with this possible solution, and then we did some testing, and we also did some debugging, to fix this solution because he had problems. So exactly what we did for the palindrome problem. So let me think about another way in which we could write this, for example. Maybe one which is more dynamic. Yeah, no, I think this is like the easiest one. Yeah. It's probably, you can't reduce this solution more than this. Okay, so let's submit. Great. So Sunil is still crashing, of course. So chat, was that clear to you? Great. I'm gonna stop. Okay. Is there any question, guys, that you want to ask before I stop the recording, so other students would be able to see that question? If not, I'm going to stop it, and then we have our post-session talk. I guess no, so I'm going to stop the recording. How complex are in a typical front-end job? Oh, it depends, really. For example, in my job, lately I had to implement a table. I had to implement a table in React, which will display info coming from the backend, and then there will be data formatting functions and things like that. So a problem can be extremely complex because I've been working on this for 2 weeks. So 8 hours a day, 2 weeks. But the thing is, you don't have to be discouraged by that because you can use divide and conquer, and you say, okay, what do I need to do? Get data from the backend, create the table, populate the table, write a formatter for the data. So that's how it works. It doesn't really matter the complexity at that point. It just matters how well you can divide the problem and fix every single thing. You don't think about how you write Netflix. You think about how you retrieve a movie list, how you display each item. That's how you think when developing, because if you think as a monolithic structure, you're never going to get at the end of a problem. Kind of like when you develop an HTML page, right? You say, okay, how do I implement the header? How do I style this title? How do I do this? So that's my suggestion for you. Other question, guys? I guess no. So I'm going to stop the recording. Bye, YouTube.